healed from that hour. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My friends, when you and I read and study the Bible, oftentimes, if you're like me, you find yourself wishing that certain parts of the Bible had never been written. I must confess that I do that from time to time. Every now and then I come across a passage of sacred scripture that I find extremely hard to understand or even to explain, and especially when it has to do with Jesus. Well, today's gospel reading is actually one of those problem passages for me. For me, it's one of those passages that I really wish were not included in the Bible. It's almost impossible to understand or explain. I kind of feel like the disciples in today's gospel who kept saying to Jesus, "Get rid of that woman. She was bothering them." But that did not happen. The woman would not go away. She was extremely persistent. If nothing else, this reading illustrates for me a basic truth about human life, namely this: there are some problems that you and I will have in life that will never ever go away. Now, this, of course, is not true of all problems. For example, I find many young people today fretting over the problem of their teenage years. They're not old enough to get a driver's license, so they are not allowed to use the family car. And so they must subject themselves to their parents' authority. Now, when you are young, such things seem to be terrible problems. But just wait a while, and with patience and maturity, those problems will just solve themselves. Unfortunately, not all problems are that easily solved. There are some that no matter how patient or how mature we are, still will never go away. And one of those problems is basic human need. You know, in the gospel, the woman's daughter was sick. She was in need of medical care. That is really a very basic human need. There are others: the need for food, decent housing, clothing, education, employment. Wherever you have people, you have needs. And they had them in the first century, and we will have them in the 21st century. I believe that we cannot close our eyes to these needs and pretend that they do not exist. We cannot ignore them in the hope that they just go away. If so, we're like the disciples in the gospel who said, "Get rid of her. She keeps calling out after us." Human need does not always shout. Sometimes human need whispers. And sometimes it only cries. But they are there and they are real. They will not go away. So we must face human need. We must get involved with them, and with the help of God, seek to meet them. I think another problem that really never goes away is the problem of prejudice, whether it's racial, religious, national, social. There are really hints of that throughout today's gospel. It's hard to believe that Jesus sounded prejudiced in today's gospel, but that's what it sounds like in today's reading. For many of us, the incident in today's gospel really disturbs us. I believe that our reaction to the gospel exposes prejudice for what it really is. We cannot stand it in Jesus or his disciples, so we better not stand it in ourselves. But we need to know that it is an age-old problem. It never has, it never will be solved. We must have the honesty and the courage to face it and to deal with it, both in our individual and in our public lives. I started off by saying that there are some parts of the Bible that I really wish had never been written. Today's gospel is actually one of them. Yet every time I open up Matthew's gospel, there it is. It's a problem passage for me that just never goes away. So on second thought, maybe it's good that it's there. Matthew preserved this difficult story for us. If nothing else, it reminds me of the basic human truth. Just like the persistent woman in today's gospel, many of life's problems just never go away. So we must face them and deal with them day after day and year after year.